Senators Schroer,
Here.
Gregory 15, Brown 26, Berger, May, Roberts, Schnelting. We have a quorum.
All right, having a quorum, I think we're going to go into a quick executive session on a handful of bills. We're going to start out. I now move that we bring up Senate Bill 794 and vote it due pass. Do I have a second? Second. Having a second, it is now before the committee. Senate Bill 794 is the bill from Senator Brattin, and this was dealing with the pro-life individuals and organizations being able to intervene in actions in which provision of the Missouri Constitution, statute, or rule involves the regulation of abortion. Are there any questions or discussion? And Senator May, this is Senate Bill 794, which I believe we heard 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, on the second.
Seeing nothing, no questions or inquiries or anything, I renew my motion that we vote Senate Bill 794 due pass. Do I have a second? Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senators Schroer,
Aye.
Gregory 15, Brown 26, Berger, May, Roberts, Schnelting. 4-1.
By your vote of 4-1, motion is voted due pass. I now move that we bring up. Are we doing that one, or is that going today?
That one's up today for
Exact.
yeah, for exact.
Senate Bill 667. This is the act modifying provisions relating to workers' compensation, which we heard last week. This is a bill that's been around for several years. Do I have a second to bring Senate Bill 667 before the committee? Having a second, it is now before the committee. Any questions or discussion? This is on the ALJ's administrative law judges and workers' compensation cases. Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, call the roll. Well, I renew my motion. Do I have a second? Second. Having a second, Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Senators Schroer,
Aye.
Gregory 15, Brown 26, Berger, May, Roberts, Schnelting. 5-0.
By a vote of 5-0, motion is voted due pass. I now move that we bring House Committee Sub to House Bill 87 before the committee. Do I have a second? Second. Having a second, it is now before the committee. Yeah. So this was the DWI bill, DWI and diversion bill, and we do have a substitute which was distributed, I believe, two weeks ago.
Yeah, I sent that out.
Yeah, the House Committee substitute was sent out electronically a week ago. I have a Senate Committee substitute, and I move that we adopt the Senate Committee substitute for House Committee sub for House Bill 87. Do I have a second? Having a second, this is now before the committee. This substitute actually incorporates several changes which we've heard this year. Guy to the right of me has a college tuition bill for public safety and personnel from Senate Committee sub, Senate Bill 71 that we're incorporating in there. The Line of Duty Compensation Act, which we've heard several times in this committee, increasing that sunset and increasing the line of duty death benefits from 25 to 100. The child maintenance for DWI individuals that have caused the death of parents. That's similar to Senate Bill 235. We've got the renewal for the Basic Civil Legal Services Fund. We have provisions relating to pretrial witness protection programs, the Crime Victims Compensation Fund, and extending the expiration date of Cybercrime Investigation Fund as well. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Senator May.
That bill just, the Senate substitute just came out this morning.
Not on 87.
Not on Senate sub for 87.
I don't know how. But let me ask you this. So did they
And if you could use your microphone, that'd be good for all those listening at home.
we have people actually listening
We
now?
do, thousands of people.
Really?
Zimbabwe, actually, tuning in.
So did they make any changes for first-time offenders in this bill?
No, there were no changes made to the underlying bill. I know that was a conversation that I had with Representative Sharp. Somehow, some way, there were rumors that there were changes made to the underlying piece of the bill on ignition interlock, or what was the other one? The diversion program, but nothing was modified to the underlying provisions.
Okay.
And like I said before, all of these provisions have been passed through this committee or on the floor this year. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I now move that we do pass Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub for House Bill 87. Do I have a second? Oh, let's adopt that sub. Do I have a second? Having a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against say no, and the ayes have it. I now move that we do pass Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub for House Bill 87. Do I have a second? Having a second, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senators Schroer,
Aye.
Gregory 15, Brown 26, Berger, May, Roberts, Schnelting. 5-1.
By your vote of 5-1, it is voted do pass. I now move that we bring up House Committee Sub for House Bill 615, Judicial Proceedings. Do I have a second? Having a second, is now before the committee.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a Senate Committee substitute for House Bill 615. For House Committee substitute for House Bill 615.
Okay. Has it been distributed? Because I emailed out a Senate Committee Sub for House Bill 615 a couple weeks ago that we were going to bring before the committee.
Yeah, so this is Senate Committee substitute to your House Committee substitute. Is that what
Well, correct, but I have a Senate Committee substitute that I distributed to the committee last week. Yes, and actually, to your other question, Representative Mark Sharp is listening online. So we have people listening at home. I'm getting text messages now. So let me bring first the Senate Committee Sub that we had distributed. Do I have a second? Having a second, I now have the Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub for 615 before the committee. This is the one that we emailed.
Okay, Mr., well, can I do a motion to incorporate myself into your sub?
Yeah, we can when we get there in just a second. The Senate Committee Substitute inserts provisions identical to 667 relating to the workers' compensation that we just dealt with. Inserts a provision identical to House Bill 125 relating to a court dissolution of limited liability companies. Inserts provisions substantially similar to House Bill 180 on the Missouri electronic wills and electronic estate planning documents. Incorporates House Bill 1457 relating to the Judicial Privacy Act. We also have the renewal again of the Basic Civil Legal Services Fund. We have the compensation of jurors, provisions identical to 221 relating to judicial review of agency determinations. And that has been voted out of the Senate and is in the House right now. We also have Senate Bill 503 relating to Public Expression Protection Act, the Anti-SLAPP Act that we voted out of this committee for a couple years now, and the Cyber Crime Investigations Fund renewal. Do we have any discussion on the Senate Committee Sub?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to roll my substitute into your substitute.
Has yours been distributed?
Yes, I think you emailed it out last month. Let me text him.
Not that I know of.
They're just these privileged.
What are the provisions?
This is, we heard these bills in Judiciary. These are relating to the civil case filing fee for St. Louis City, bringing it in line with Jackson at the same rate, but also relating to the my bill redaction of certain information for witness protection. We've heard that for many years, you know, taking out the witness's address and stuff so that people can't find them. And also relating to the, we heard this bill, the restitution for eligibility of expungement, exempting that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it was distributed.
Well, these are three bills that we heard in the meeting.
Do you have copies of the language?
So you're adding filing fee, which is in one.
That goes, it matches Jackson to urban areas. And that's been floating around for years.
Redacting certain information.
Those are the witnesses, we heard those as well.
Pass the microphone.
Other than the non-violent fees, and sometimes their restitution is so amount, and they don't have a job in the first place, so they can't pay the restitution because they don't have employment. And so they're trying to get the expungement of the non-violent crime that we put on there for expungement, so they can get employment making more money. So we're just exempting it as a requirement.
Well, Senator, I already see a little bit of a conflict in this with what we have. The admissibility of certain evidence in criminal cases, I know we already have provisions in there. The redaction of certain information on court records, we have not exec yet, because I know that there were several witnesses that came to my office that wanted to work out some tweaks with the current arrangement that the Missouri Bar has on case filings, on redaction of case filings.
But the witness, yeah, but we didn't have any of those witnesses that came forward when we heard the witness.
This one was already in the bill.
Yeah, that one's already in the bill.
And we can, if you want, we can vote on each of these separately, if that's what you also want.
Yeah.
If there's some
That's fine.
question.
Okay. So that's what I guess we can do, is just go through and orally.
You can just do an amendment for each to incorporate Senate Bill 18, and then do a separate amendment to incorporate Senate Bill 691, and then a separate one.
Yeah.
If that- if-
Well,
if-
691 is already in there. That's the,
So just
Because there was no witness or anybody that came forward against the.
so Senator May, do you have the, you have a motion to incorporate Senate Bill 18 into the Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub for House Bill 615?
Yes, I make a motion that we incorporate Senate Bill 18 into a House Committee sub,
Is there a second?
Senate Committee sub.
Having a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against say no, and the ayes have it.
Thank
Back
you.
to,
back to your underlying.
yeah. So now we have to incorporate the,
So just, I make a motion to adopt the Senate.
we make a motion to adopt the Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub for House Bill 615 as amended. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Having a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against say no,
I do pass.
and the ayes have it. So I now move that we do pass Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub for House Bill 615. Do I have a second? Having a second, any further discussion? I now ready my motion to vote.
He probably have discussion, he trying to catch up. You got any discussion?
Yeah, which one was 615?
This is Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub 615. We've incorporated the ALJ workers' compensation bill that we've had in this committee for several years. We've got the dissolution of limited liability companies. We've got the Missouri Electronic Wills and Electronic Estate Planning Documents Act, the Judicial Privacy Act, the renewal of the Civil Legal Services Fund, Senate Bill 447 on compensation for jurors, Senate Bill 221 on judicial non-deference, Senate Bill 503 relating to the Uniform Public Expression Act, the Anti-SLAPP Act that we've had in this committee for 3 years.
Do we have a copy of that sub?
I know it's emailed electronic. You can look at this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Does this have the part where it says children don't necessarily have to be cross-examined like they can do video testimony?
Correct. So that's in the underlying bill.
Gotcha.
And so, I thought they changed that, so they said they don't have to be cross-examined. I know they said they was presenting evidence.
What's it?
I think it was in person.
Yeah, in-person cross-examinations
They don't have to have in-person cross-examination.
for certain sexual abuse claims.
Okay, so they're,
Here, I can show you one.
yeah, I don't think it's in here. Is this it? That's 615.
615.
Yeah, that was my concern though.
It's right here.
Yeah.
So we were making sure that,
So your provision right there is already in the bill.
this ain't my bill.
That's the underlying house.
Yeah.
bill, So that's, so that's what the second paragraph is what was already in.
Right, so let me just ask this question before we, just in the discussion part. So basically, they're going to, my understanding is, they're going to give their testimony by video because they're vulnerable persons. But it's not preventing cross-examination, or is it saying they can never be cross-examined?
I don't believe it's saying they can never be cross-examination. Or cross-examined. I believe that there were certain exceptions in there for vulnerable witnesses under a certain age if their testimony is captured electronically.
Yes, okay. This one.
Yeah.
My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, though, like if they submit that testimony, they're not required to be cross-examined. And that was kind of my underlying issue with 615.
Yeah, so that's sections 495.075 and 492.304 under current law. A statement made by a child under the age of 14 of age may be, it's not shall be, may be admissible in criminal proceedings under certain circumstances. The act changes the age to a child under the age of 18 years of age. This was the underlying provision. It provides that visual or audio recordings of a child under the age of 18 or a vulnerable person who had the mental capacity of a minor and certain criminal offenses shall be admissible in criminal proceedings under certain circumstances.
Yeah.
So we heard that underlying bill several weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I just had that little issue with that underlying bill because, if you get a person that's 17 years old and they, said they were sexually assaulted and they make an accusation to another person that's, in that same age group, maybe 18, and because we are considering them vulnerable, emotionally not stable, they make this video presentation, but if they're not able to be cross-examined, that may be a problem. And the reason I say that is because there have been historical cases where young people, 17 and 16 years old, have made false allegations to some students, maybe 16, 17, going to the same school, and it's cases where those individuals were convicted of those crimes, went to jail, and then later were exonerated because the person admitted that it was a lie or false accusation. So my concern is just, how do we determine, when and when not to, cross-examine those individuals? And that's my only concern with that.
And I can sit with you offline and with Representative Griffith to go over your concerns. And if we need to make any changes, we can tweak that in the sub.
Yeah, fine. I just wanted to know that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I renew my motion that we vote do pass Senate Committee Sub for House Committee Sub, House Bill 615. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Senators Schroer,
Aye.
Gregory 15, Brown 26, Berger, May, Roberts, Schnelting.
5-2.
By a vote of 5-2, motion is due pass. And we've got several more that we will go into exec either at the end of today, or we'll notice up a different different hearing place because some of our character witnesses need to leave by a certain time. So I now, Senator May.
Remember, they continue budget markups. If you go into exec session,
Well, it would be at the end of this hearing today.
yeah, but we want budget markups at 9, because the system crashed yesterday, and we wanted to finish.
Okay, so the system crashed for budget, and I know several other
It's gonna put
several other members need to go. So we are going to, I'll make a motion that we get out of executive session and go into public hearings. Do I have a second? Having a second, we are now in public hearings, and I will neither confirm nor deny that there were several members of this committee that were injured yesterday in the softball game due to age. So I will just say, to make everyone feel at home and welcome, I will be presenting Senate Bill 741 from the dais here and not going to the witness stand because I don't want to, embarrass anybody who may not be able to make it to the witness stand. So I'm going to turn the gavel over to my vice chair, who may or may not have been injured as well at the softball game, for charity, mind you. And we're going to go to the public hearing on Senate Bill 741. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. It's been a while since I've seen you. I hope you're feeling good today. This is, for the record, Senator Schroer's Senate District 2 on Senate Bill 741, the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act. I believe that this will get bipartisan support for several reasons here, as this is going to expedite the federal review of Missouri death penalty cases. During a death penalty case, the Missouri Supreme Court refuses to issue the death warrant or the execution order until all options have been exhausted for appeal. And this includes a federal review. So federal statute, which was bipartisan a long time ago under Democrat President Bill Clinton, and in response to the 1993 World Trade Center and Oklahoma City bombings, kind of triggered this review. There was an Eighth Circuit case from 2003 that said our statutes and rules do not necessarily meet the standards to opt in, according to Hall versus Lubbers. Our legislation here in Senate Bill 741 will change that. So in order to opt into these federal statutes to get the federal review and expedite all options herein, we have to have certain statutes that the DOJ is appeased by. These statutes include the guarantee of legal representations for all offenders in death penalty cases. This is going to include better qualifications for offenders and their counsel in the review of these cases. In turn, clarifying the complex and strenuous process of working through the federal appeal for habeas corpus. President Trump's recent executive orders have increased our hopes with federal compliance and the relationship with the pro-death penalty states. The U.S. government is on the same page with respect to overturning Kennedy versus Louisiana, which outlawed the death penalty for child rapists. So with the testimony that we've seen in the House, we're going to have several witnesses here, including our first witness, which I'll call to the stand. Mr. Chairman, Greg Goodwin is going to be our first subject matter expert, and I believe that there are certain witnesses here who are family members of those in these death penalty cases. So with that, I'll take any questions or turn it over to our first subject matter witness.
Prior to that, any questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, the first witness, you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Greg Goodwin. I'm the Chief Counsel of the Public Protection Section at the Missouri Attorney General's Office. I am a prosecutor. I supervise the 45 approximate members of our section. We work with the victims of violent crimes, which I've done every day for the last 12 years. Some of the hardest phone calls that I have to make in my job is to the loved ones of murder victims. Capital cases, obviously, are no exception to that. The victims in those cases wait years, decades, frankly, for closure and for finality. Sometimes that finality never comes. There are a few family members here from a couple of capital cases that will share their experiences with you all. I want to briefly talk about Lance Shockley. He's a defendant who's been convicted of murdering Missouri State Highway Patrolman Sergeant Carl Graham, Jr. Mr. Shockley was the subject of an investigation of a DWI accident that resulted in a fatality. Sergeant Graham was investigating that. Mr. Shockley went to Sergeant Graham's house, laid in wait for him to get off of work, and shot him in the back with a .243 rifle. That round pierced the bulletproof vest and killed Sergeant Graham. He received a fair trial. He was tried, convicted, sentenced to death. He completed state court review, all of his direct appeals, his post-conviction appeals, in 2019. His case has been tied up in federal habeas review for the last 5 years. Sergeant Graham's father was desperate to see the justice for his son, but Sergeant Graham's father never got that opportunity. He passed away last month at 79 years of age. As the Supreme Court of the United States wrote in Bucklew versus Precythe, the people of Missouri, the surviving victims, and others like them deserve better. The chairman's bill, if enacted, will help us make sure that crime victims in these capital cases receive the timely justice that they're entitled to. And it does that by slightly increasing and standardizing the standards that are required for individuals to be appointed as representation in capital cases for defendants. So it provides a benefit to some of these offenders in the sense that there's a more standardized level of experience required, and in the sense that it requires the appointment of that counsel to take place immediately. Those are the two things that the Federal District Court, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals pointed out indicate that our statute may not be in complete compliance. And just to be clear what we're talking about here, after someone is convicted, there's a state court direct appeal. It goes directly to the Missouri Supreme Court. Once that, there can be a petition for certiorari if the offender does not prevail. Once that's concluded, the offender goes back to circuit court to file a motion for post-conviction relief. On a direct appeal, they can raise claims that the trial court made an error. On post-conviction relief, they can raise a claim that their attorney was ineffective. If they don't prevail in front of the circuit court, then they can take a direct appeal from that. That goes, once again, directly to the Missouri Supreme Court. And if they don't prevail at the Missouri Supreme Court, they can take a certiorari petition. Once that's resolved, then a federal district court review begins. The cases languish, frankly, in federal district court. I have some examples here of folks whose cases sat in federal district court for more than 6 years. 6 years, 7.5 years, 5 years, 4.5 years. These are cases that sit there waiting for a federal district court decision. And under the current statutes, we're not able to opt in, as the chairman mentioned. If we were able to opt in, that would impose timelines on the federal district court to resolve the cases in a more expeditious manner. It also would impose timelines on the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals to resolve the appeals from the district courts in a more timely manner. In all, by adopting this bill and making slight tweaks to the timing and the qualifications necessary for defense counsel for these defendants, we'll be able to opt in to the more expeditious review in federal court under AEDPA, and that's going to result in years of heartbreak, distress, and frankly, just some of the worst years of these victims' lives that they won't have to continue to endure, because they'll be able to move forward knowing that finality has taken place, that justice has been served. And the victims will speak more to that. I don't want to share their stories. But with that, I'm happy to take questions about the bill.
Thank you. Questions for the witness?
Absolutely.
Senator.
Okay, so thank you for being here. You said a lot, so I just want to, cut to the chase. So you're saying this bill would expedite that process?
This bill, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
What this bill does is raise the standards slightly and change the timing window for the appointment of the public defenders after someone has been convicted.
Okay, so yes, so it's basically saying we're going to get qualified legal people that are experienced, and then it gives them, what, 3 years to do that
No, they're appointed immediately.
immediately? Okay.
Yeah, so under current law, once someone is convicted and a sentence of death is imposed, they have to wait. They then begin direct appeal. Until the direct appeal is over, they don't get their new set of lawyers for post-conviction relief. What this bill does is has the trial court appoint the post-conviction lawyers immediately.
Okay.
So they can start working on the guy's claims immediately instead of waiting a year or a year and a half for the direct appeal to be done.
Okay, very good.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thanks so much for your testimony. Next witness to testify in favor of Senate Bill 741. Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 741? Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We have some folks, I think they were...
Beautiful, beautiful.
My apologies.
Thank you. I appreciate your time for me to tell a little bit of my story here. My name is Mary McEntee. My husband was Sergeant Bill McEntee. He was a sergeant in Kirkwood, Missouri, and he went to work one day and never came back. He was shot and killed in the line of duty. He was on a call and he got ambushed. And that 18-year wait, it's been a lot, especially one being keeping informed has been a struggle, the communication level. Sometimes I'd see what's going on in my case on the news, and I'm blindsided by that. I understand that the wheels of justice are slow, but it seems like there were different people handling my case, and I just didn't appreciate seeing it on the news other than hearing someone give me a phone call. It seems as though the longer he was in jail, the more rights he had. With others' help, he was able to write 3 to 4 books and have them published and sold on Amazon. One book was titled Cop Killer. He used his mother's maiden name and his first name backwards so he would be able to write them, and with a little help from some of his teachers that were in high school, they had them published. When it came down to his last appeal, his advocates showed up on my daughter's doorstep, who had moved from St. Louis to Kansas City and had showed up at her door asking how she felt about the appeal process, how he was on his last appeal, and how she felt about it, and wanted to kind of sway her in the other direction, like, you're the only one family member that can help. How do you feel about that? And she was shocked. She told me she wanted to be more informed in that case, and then now that she has to watch her back because this woman came out of nowhere. She flew in from Pennsylvania. She also told my daughter that there'll be other family members that they're going to visit. So I had to tell my other 2 boys, hey, watch out. I don't know who's coming at the door. I don't know who might show up at work. So that was very stressful, not knowing who was going to show up at your door. I welcomed them at my door because I know exactly what I would say. But I felt that was very vulnerable for my kids to have to be another victim again. It doesn't matter what they think. It's just a matter of a violation, for our family. I don't think you have that right to show up again and be victimized again. This was, another thing, they can find you anywhere. I mean, I don't understand how they can find out where you are and where you live and what your lifestyle is. He gets to go on YouTube, tell his story, because he's losing his appeals. And so he can tell his story, how he's the victim. He also got a highway sign put up in his memory, in the city of Kirkwood, where my husband was killed. So a sign went up in his memory that was okay for me to come into Kirkwood and see that he's, his memory's still alive. But it was short-lived because I happened to be a visit with Andrew Bailey, and I showed him the picture of the sign, and it is now, that whole system is going to be revamped. I felt at times that we had no rights. Wesley Bell from St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office sends a letter to the Supreme Court asking them, after 17 years, that he would like to review the case again, which wasn't his to review. It was already said and done. But he decided to send a letter to the Supreme Court and tell them not to set a date. I called him about that, and he lied to me. He said his office was not going to interfere in anything. But when I got a copy of the letter, it was his letterhead and one of his lawyers that signed the letter. Articles that have come out have trashed my husband's character and were simply not true. It always seemed like his killer was always the victim. The weight you carry waiting for closure, it affects everything you do, including your kids. It's hard moving on and carrying that. In all the above and on his deathbed, we've never heard an apology, even though he could go on YouTube and talk about his books or his life, and he's never said he was sorry. So that is a lot of years of waiting for closure, and after 18 years, we finally got closure on November 29th, 2022. So, thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. We're so sorry for your loss. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, this is very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to testify in support?
So, my name is Tracy Duncan, and my little sister, Sarah Bonnie, was murdered Christmas Eve of 2006. I have a letter that my mom wrote that she, unfortunately, it's too much for her. She writes, "I am the mother of Sarah Bonnie. Our journey began in December of 2006 when inmate Brian Dorsey, Sarah's cousin, was given a safe haven in their home on Christmas Eve. They rescued him from drug dealers that were attempting to collect a debt that Brian owed for drugs. That evening, while Sarah and Ben were asleep, Brian took a 12-gauge shotgun and shot them both in the head. Brian murdered Sarah and Ben, raped Sarah's body, attempted to cover up the crime, stole any items that he thought he could sell for money, and left their 4-year-old daughter Jade alone all night with the doors open on a very cold evening. I'm sorry. They did not show up for a Christmas gathering, and my husband Mike and I went to check on them, and no parent should find their children like that. We took Jade and got guardianship and raised her. I was forced to retire because of the tragic trauma. Mike's health began to decline as the visions of finding our children in that manner was more than a person could live with. He passed away in 2017. We had to raise a traumatized 4-year-old crying for her. Thank you. Mom and Dad, nightmares of the bad man coming to kill her, triggers of Christmas music or something else causing meltdowns, being there for our children, our other grandchildren, and attempting to get through each day the best way we could. And then there is the unrelenting press, all because there is no closure, so we would move on and let go of the constant legal issues that always haunted us. We were always raised to believe that justice will prevail, and I truly believed in that. However, through this process, that took us 18 years to discover that not all things are as we thought they would be. The victims really have no rights in this process, only the criminal. The amount of appeals are relentless, time-consuming, and costly for the state, but this process for victims is heart-wrenching. We learned that not only do you have the multiple appeals throughout the state of Missouri, after all these processes, we found out that we also have to start over again and go through the federal appeal process as well. 18 years we fought this battle with every appeal process. Your heart is crushed with a fear of the unknown. Then there is waiting for each of those processes, which could take months or even years before a judgment is rendered from the court. To give an explanation of how that feels to a victim, there's no moving forward. You are stuck in a time trying to get through each day, wanting justice for your loved ones, and each time you think you are near, an appeal comes along and rips that scab right off your heart, and we start all over again. Everyone wants a fair legal process for all, but there has to be a better way to reach a goal of being fair to all parties, criminal and victims. I looked up the average time span it takes for a time a criminal begins the legal process to the execution for a death row inmate is 19 years, which is way too long. Not only is the process so very difficult for victims, but it's the lengthy process of each appeal is exhausting. I truly believe that a recodification of our laws could be achieved to shorten the process and to be fair to all parties. The attorneys that work on the cases are all very overwhelmed with no end in sight. Same thing applies for our court systems. If this could be achieved, the process would be smoother for all parties, less time-consuming, and definitely save the state of Missouri a lot of taxpayer dollars.
Thank you so much. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. It's very helpful. Anyone else to testify in favor of Senate Bill 741? Seeing none. Anyone else to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 741? Seeing none. Anyone here for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 741.
Now moving to Senate Bill 706 from Senator Hudson. And for those that are in the audience, the next bill thereafter will be the Chairman Parker on House Committee Sub HB176. And then I believe I saw Representative Cook here as well, so he'll be thereafter. Senator Hudson, please proceed on Senate Bill 706.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I appreciate your time today. For the record, Senator Brad Hudson, representing District 33, Stone, Taney, Douglas, Ozark, Texas, Howell, and Shannon counties. Here to present to you Senate Bill 706. The bill before you today is an important bill to protect the ability of charitable organizations and church leaders to disclose information that could protect victims and potential victims of sexual assault. Senate Bill 706 provides that no charitable organization or an employee or a volunteer thereof shall be held civilly liable for making a good faith disclosure reasonably believed to be true regarding an allegation that an individual has engaged in sexual misconduct, sexually abused another individual, sexually harassed another individual, or committed certain sexual offenses. Furthermore, this act provides that the liability protection shall not apply to a person who reports their own sexual abuse, sexual harassment, or sexual offenses, or who acts in bad faith or with malicious purpose in making a disclosure. My office has received testimony from Dr. Wes Fowler of the Missouri Baptist Convention, and we're happy to provide that testimony to the committee should they wish to review that. But I would like to share with you today some of his words, which I think speak well to the necessity for this legislation. First, all Missourians seek to prevent sexual predation and to care well for survivors. When a former employee or volunteer is suspected of sexual misconduct, the law should encourage, not discourage, charitable employers to honestly warn other employers and hiring bodies of past problems in order to prevent future harm. Some charities have feared legal risks when called for reference checks, and thus have remained silent, allowing predators to move with impunity from one community to another. Senate Bill 706 helps reduce that fear and encourages candor, provided the agent speaks in good faith and shares what he or she reasonably believes to be true. Second, this bill respects the reality that charities are stewards of donated dollars, often from sacrificial givers. Facing a defamation lawsuit, even if baseless, can financially cripple a small church or ministry. By shielding good faith disclosures, Senate Bill 706 enables charities to honor their fiduciary responsibilities while also safeguarding others from potential harm. Third, the bill protects the reputational and justice interest of the accused by excluding liability protection for those who act in bad faith or with malicious purpose. It also bars someone from shielding themselves by self-reporting their own wrongdoing. In this way, Senate Bill 706 sends a clear message. Protection applies only to truth tellers, not rumor spreaders or slanderers. We believe Missouri law already offers similar protections in other sensitive contexts, such as reporting child abuse. Senate Bill 706 simply extends a narrow and responsible shield to cover disclosures between charities, ministries, or hiring bodies who are genuinely seeking the truth before placing someone in a position of trust. We should all desire that more pastors and charitable organization leaders share this information to stop others from being sexually assaulted and taken advantage of, and I am happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Representative. I love the idea of the bill. I love how it is structured. Can you give me any clarification on what other states have done this? Because I'm pretty sure some other states have taken this approach as well.
It is my understanding that there are other states that are taking this approach, yes. As far as details regarding that, I believe we have a witness here today that might be able to speak to that in a better way than I can.
Any questions? Seeing none, first witness in support, please come forward on Senate Bill 706. Proceed when ready.
Senator Hudson, Representative Lewis, and other distinguished members of the committee, I want to thank you for the invitation to be here. My name is Pastor John C. Nelson. I'm the lead pastor of Soma Community Church here in Jefferson City, Missouri. I previously served as the chair of the Missouri Baptist Convention Sexual Abuse Response Team, and additionally served on the Abuse Implementation Reform Task Force. I did not name it, it's just really long, of the Southern Baptist Convention. On February 10th of 2019, the Houston Chronicle began a 6-part series called The Abuse of Faith, which chronicled 20 years and around 700 victims of sexual abuse within the Southern Baptist Convention. In response, in 2020, at our annual meeting in Nashville, Tennessee, we began a task force to address these concerns within the convention and to address issues of sexual abuse overall. This led to a publishing of independent investigation by Guidepost Solutions, which summed over 288 pages of findings, which is publicly available on their website. And I had the honor over the last 4 years to serve on these various task forces to look into these allegations and understand exactly what it looks like. And from that, we were able to produce materials and websites to help our pastors move forward. But in researching, we came up with, for solutions, we also found many roadblocks for churches in order to properly address this issue, one of which is one that we have the honor of which to address today. Over the years, this task force has had the privilege of interacting with churches and pastors all throughout the state of Missouri. And there are many areas of concern, but one of the areas that consistently came up is the potential exposure to lawsuits for sharing credible information with another church or potential employer. For example, 2 years ago, my wife received a phone call here in Jefferson City from a friend of an alleged abuser. That potential sexual abuse was happening within a Christian school. This concern should have been able to have been brought up between that Christian school and the church that she went to, but unfortunately, because of the way the laws are structured right now, as a volunteer, it was not able to be shared. She went on to sexually abuse a 16 and then a 17-year-old child, and of which she was convicted of 2 days ago. So we praise God that it was done, but it's still, the harm was done to him, to his friends, to his family, and to that school and that church. We need the ability to make these good faith disclosures to protect our congregants. Granted, even if held liable, pastors will still do the right thing, and have over the state of Missouri. There are cases right now where pastors have done the right thing. But we shouldn't have to put our churches, our ministries, and our livelihoods in jeopardy to protect our flocks. I urge you to pass the bill Senate Bill 706. It is vital that we as pastors and church leaders are able to disclose information of potential sexual abuse and misconduct with leaders from our churches. Perpetrators statistically will often move from church to church because they see them as soft targets. They see them as places where they can get away with this. And we are trying to create harder targets within the legal system so that we can gainfully address them. Places of worship and other charitable organizations should not be the perpetration of sexual abuse, and we want to end that as quickly as possible. And this bill allows us not only to protect those we serve, but likely reduce the number of lives that are traumatized by sexual abusers within our ranks. We thank you so much for hearing me today, and if you have any questions, I'm willing to take them.
Thank you, Pastor, for coming today and all the work that you're doing in this field. Are there any questions for the pastor? Seeing none. Thank you for your time. Next, witness in support. Seeing none. Any in opposition? Seeing none. Any for informational purposes? Seeing none. Any closing remarks?
Just like to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator. Next bill we're moving to is House Committee Sub for House Bill 176. Chairman Parker, please take the stand. And I believe we have many of these bills we've covered, or provisions of this bill we've covered today. And for anybody waiting for the rest of the executive session, we're moving that tomorrow to 9:30, and I believe SCR 1. Proceed when ready.
Good morning, Chairman Schroer and committee members. I also played in the softball game last night, and I was going to ask if I could testify from back there as well, because I had a little trouble moving today.
I was hoping that you could testify from your hearing room, and electronically we could make it work.
Just zoom me in. Yeah. Anyway, I'm Cameron Parker, representing the 150th District, which consists of Dunklin, Pemiscot, and Butler counties in southeast Missouri. Thank you all so much for having me today. I'm here to present House Committee Sub for House Bill 176. Now, this is a lot of legislation that we have put through the Judiciary Committee in the House. Many, as the chairman said, what you have heard today and seen. Basically, there are 19 subparts. I will not delve into every single one of those, but it will kind of hit the highlights of some of the ones that I think are more important that you have seen. The first one we have is the Missouri Uniform Fiduciary Income and Principal Act, which is the MOFIPA. It's the majority of this bill, about 50 pages or so. It provides for income, principal, and endowment. There's a lot of things that this bill does. It was filed in the House, and then a companion bill in the Senate by Senator Crawford. Another thing that you exec'd out today was the electronic wills and estates filed by Senator Berger. You also exec out today the work comp provisions, removal of ALJs, and payment and retirement benefits. That was Senator Henderson's, the 667 that you did this morning. This also includes the dissolution of LLCs. That was Senator Trent's in 352, but you exec out that this morning. This bill includes the Uniform Child Custody Transfer Act and UCCJEA changes, provide some safeguards of transfer, and then there's a title change in that. I do not believe that you have a Senate companion on that particular bill. This legislation also includes orders of protection. It's a fix for the age of minors, 17, and then adults 18 and above. The classification, I think the chairman filed that as well. This includes confidentiality of case information. Do not think there's a Senate companion to this. This specifically, if there is a person that has passed away and there is some information, criminal convictions on CaseNet, this allows for the personal representative, family, parents, children to ask that that be removed and remain confidential. This, as you also exec, the funding for civil legal services, that is contained in this bill. Compensation of jurors, that was exec'd out this morning, contained in this bill. The Uniform Public Expression Protection Act, exec'd out this morning in this bill. This also includes the mental health treatment courts, which is Senate Bill 218, which is in the House now. You all have seen that. And then there is also the Uniform Interstate Deposition and Discovery Act, which is a standard process or procedures not in the bill, but you have a companion with Senate Bill 352 for subpoenas, depositions, and discoveries. So that is the gist of what is in here. There's a few other small things, but, and like I said, all had been many are standalone bills in the House that have been vetted through committee. This passed the House floor 142-9. And with that, I close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we have all of these provisions have either been heard in this committee this year, voted out of this committee this year, voted out of the Senate floor this year. So we should all be very familiar with these. But with that, any questions? Seeing none. First witness in support, please come forward.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Eric Jennings on behalf of the Judicial Conference of Missouri. Representative Parker has, I think, covered all the territory that we have here. Just wanted to reiterate that we had appeared to testify before you on the raise the age technical amendments, the mental health treatment courts, the waiver of costs for veterans, juror compensation, and revisions to Section 509, 520 on confidential information. Glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. Next witness in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Andy Briscoe. I'm the registered lobbyist for the Missouri Bar. We'd like to thank Representative Parker for bringing this bill forward. We'd like to go on record supporting the trust provisions, which are contained in House Bill 1259, which you all will be executing tomorrow, and very supportive of the bill.
Any questions? Seeing one, maybe? No, seeing none. Thought we had one. Next in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, James Harris, representing the Institute for Free Speech, to support the Uniform Law Commission wording that you added into House Bill 615 this morning, sections 537.529, which are on pages 87 through 90. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. Next in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Alex Eaton representing Trust and Will this morning. Craig Parker testified on House Bill 1259 on behalf of Trust and Will, but we supported Senator Berger's bill, and that's the only piece we care about in the bill, but I'm sure every other piece is great.
I was going to say, you don't care about all the other good pieces?
I do, but just on this piece, just testifying on behalf of this piece. So.
Excellent. Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Next in support.
Good morning. Stephen Marion, Legislative Liaison for the Department of Labor. We are testifying on pages 7 through 15, the ALJ reform. I testified last week. I'll keep it short. This is exact out of 667 as well. So we just want to go on the record in support for it.
Any questions? Seeing none. Next in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mark Rhodes here on behalf of the 4 legal aid organizations in Missouri. As you are well aware, our section is 477-650. It is removing the sunset on the funding mechanism for the 4 legal aid programs. They will expire on December 31st of this year without removal. So very, very much appreciate your help.
Well, I know we're sprinkling that bill on many different bills moving through the process, especially Senate Bill 10. Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Next in support. Seeing none. Any in opposition? I didn't think so. Any for informational purposes? Any closing remarks? All right, that will conclude the hearing on House Committee Sub HB176. Now moving to Representative Cook, HB543. And is Representative Haley in here? I don't see him. So after this, we will be going to Senate Bill 778 from Senator Trent. Representative Cook, proceed when ready on House Bill 543.
Mr. Chair and committee, thank you for hearing House Bill 543. My name is Benny Cook, State Representative from Marys, Phelps, and Texas counties, 143rd District. And this is House Bill 543, a detention for evaluation for civil detention, 96-hour hold. So I've been in law enforcement a little over 20 years, from Bell PD to Texas County Sheriff's Office to Columbia Police Department, and have been involved in 96-hour holds at each of those departments. And what this bill simply does, we passed this the past couple of years. Was a little bit of a change again this year on it. It does take out the notarization requirement for the 96-hour holds. It also adds in a provision to ensure that the peace officers, licensed physicians, mental health professional, registered professional under nurse under subsection 4 of this section, and an employee acting on behalf of the hospital. That's the main changes in this piece of legislation.
Great bill, House Bill 543. Any questions? Seeing none. First in support. The notorious Jamie Murphy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jamie Murphy, Missouri Hospital Association. I submitted my witness testimony form on the internet. Want to go on record in support of this bill. Happy to answer any questions. And finally, I got to testify in front of this great committee.
Well, all that's left. Any questions for the great Jamie Murphy? Seeing none. I thought we'd have something.
Too easy on me. Come on.
Any further in support? Please come forward. Seeing none. Any in opposition? Seeing none. Any for informational purposes? Seeing none. That will conclude the public hearing on HB 543. And I believe we will have Senator Trent joining us here shortly. And Representative Haley is not hiding underneath chairs or anything. I don't see him here. Maybe he was injured too from the softball game last night. And again, for those who didn't hear the message previously, the rest of the exec session will be taking place tomorrow, 9:30 in SCR 1. We'll now move to Senate Bill 778 from Senator Trent. Proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Curtis Trent, representing Senate District 20. So this act creates the offense of possession of a controlled substance in a drug-free homeless service zone, which would be considered Class A misdemeanor. A drug-free homeless service zone is an area within 300 feet of the premises of a facility-based service, which is things like housing that receive state funding, and I use state in the sense of federal, state, or local. State isn't government, not state isn't just state, to provide shelter or other kinds of treatment or wraparound services. And so I think the premise here is pretty straightforward. You've got folks that are homeless that are trying to, they're receiving state benefits to try to recover from that condition, and having individuals going into that area and selling drugs is directly contra to the purpose of why the state is expending funds in that area. And so we need to have a stronger penalty to try to discourage and punish that kind of behavior if we want to effectively use state resources to help these individuals. Be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful idea, wonderful bill. Any witnesses or any questions for the sponsor first? All right, first witness in support. I know he's been patiently waiting all day through the chaos that is this committee.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. James Harris, registered lobbyist for Cicero Action, to testify in support. As the bill sponsor said, sadly, we have a homelessness problem that is growing in this country, whether it's sheltered and unsheltered around the country. 2/3 of these people have a drug or mental health problem, sadly. The majority have both. Drug dealers are aware of this. We've seen the drug problem with chronically homeless people has increased 30% in the last 10 years. And 2/3 are reporting regular use of hard narcotics, meth, cocaine, opiates. And the drug dealers know this, so they kind of stalk them. It's a target-rich environment, and these people deserve better, hopefully, so we can get them the help they need, get the, so turn away from drugs, get them the support, and that's what this bill tries to do. I could go on, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Harris? Seeing none. Next in support? Seeing none. Any in opposition? Seeing none. Any for informational purposes? Seeing none. Any concluding remarks?
No. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. Appreciate your consideration of this bill.
That will conclude the public hearing on Senate Bill 778. And now moving to the last bill, House Bill 49. Representative Haley.
Good morning. Willard Haley, representing the House's 58th District, Montauk, Morgan counties, and a little bit of Cooper. And I'm here to present today House Bill number 49, and it is on the trafficking of drugs, specifically fentanyl and carfentanil, and it strengthens the penalties from infractions previously to a little bit greater. And what we're trying to do with this bill is not to attack those people suffering from drug abuse, but it has everything to do about punishing those individuals that are distributing the drugs, that are carrying larger quantities of this drug. These drugs are very potent, and it doesn't take much to harm someone. Very small amounts can actually kill people, and so we are wanting to increase the penalties for those that carry more than 3, but less than 14 grams would be a Class B felony, and if it's more than 14, it would be a Class A felony. And it was previously above 20 milligrams, and now that would make it above 14. So we'd lower the threshold for the punishment of these people that are distributing these drugs. I was notified after it got out of the House, and so the House authors, the drafting team could not be of assistance. But the way it is currently written, a prosecutor read it, and he said, "I really like the bill," but he said there needs to be a minor correction when it comes to us to enforce this. And so I haven't been able to get that included in it yet. But we do have an infraction have a correction so that the prosecutors could properly handle it. I am now open for any questions.
Well, thank you, Representative. This is kind of supplemental to the bill that myself and former Senator, now Congressman Onder, had passed several years ago. I know our state didn't have any trafficking of fentanyl or carfentanil up until then, And we're learning more and more and more about it. And I know that there's even derivatives of carfentanil that are even more dangerous than that. So I do appreciate this bill. And for the committee's sake, this is, I believe, fairly similar to a bill we heard last year, House Committee Sub for House Bill 2576. So with that, I will open it up to any questions. Senator Berger.
Yes, thank you for bringing this forward. Do you have a committee sub that you're working on? Is that what you're working on now?
At this point, they said the change needs to be made in the Senate. So I was turned down when I asked for a committee. It was after it actually got voted out of the House that this prosecutor got in touch with me and said he had a recommendation. I sent it to Brian Scheider for his recommendation. He said, oh, yes. He said, we do need to change just a little bit of that before it would go on. So I'm not quite ready to present that.
Who's the handler going to be? Who's going to be the handler over here?
I have asked Senator Bernstetter to be.
Okay, thank you.
And Senator Berger, I know you've got a great prosecutor, Mark Welker, in your district. So we could work with Mark and Locke and others that have gone before this committee to figure out what tweaks we need to make. Any further questions? Seeing none. First witness in support? Seeing none. Any in opposition? Seeing none. Any for informational purposes? Seeing none. Concluding remarks.
Just, I thank you for your time. We do have an epidemic. I think most of us probably are aware of some individual, some family that's been affected by this. Very small amounts of these substances are deadly, and we need to do all we can to keep the dealers from killing more of our neighbors and our friends and our family. Thank you.
That will conclude the public hearing for House Bill 49. Having no further business before the committee, I now move that we adjourn. Having any second? We have 2 seconds, so we are adjourned.